Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode where I have a beautiful guest, dear friend, soul sister, star sister, Arayah, joining us today. Arayah and I have, I think we've just recently connected. We've, followed each other on Facebook, on the Facebook journey, as many of my connections are through Facebook and people that come on here. And yeah, I did an incredible abundance course with Arayah that she facilitated, and it was really exceptional and yeah, amazing everything I experienced there. And I saw beautiful blessings each week on what we were focusing on through that course come into my life. And through that journey, we've deepened our connection and, can have a lot of resonance in what we've come here with and to express, and beautiful friendships been created through that. So I feel really blessed to have you on board. So welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's such a beautiful introduction. Thank you, Jacob. I feel honored to be here and to have this lovely chat with you. Um, yeah, we often have, since we've kind of met or reconnected, maybe even, we've got deep conversations. So I'm excited to be here and to have this talk with you.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's always nice to just see how it flows, isn't it?
mm,
It's kind of like, okay, we show up, what are we feeling? And I find with you, you're very good at reading energies. I really find it's quite an art that you have, and like I'll just go into the meditations, like you've brought through some really strong, powerful guided meditations, and there's a real journey there. You're very clear with what you're bringing through as well. And then there's been times where new things have
mm,
showed up that you weren't expecting or knowing we were going to
yeah,
journey, and
yeah,
you just
absolutely. Yeah.
ride with it, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a surprise to me too. So in general, before we go into a session, into a meditation, anything that I co-create with the client and with our higher selves, really, I have sometimes a sort of a general idea of what is going to unfold, but often it unfolds right in front of my eyes. So people say, "How do you do what you're doing?" I'm literally narrating what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing. So, and this is one of the things that is kind of in the feedback also from people that they say, "Oh my gosh, I saw that just before you were describing it." So they're literally doing the same thing. So I just follow along with what my higher self is putting in front of us. And then I describe that, and I think I've noticed, because there's different ways of how I obviously hold these sessions, but I've noticed that it's powerful when we describe it, because then we're putting words to it, and when you're using your voice, you're actually adding to the energy, and also it really helps for people who don't really necessarily have the inner vision, because we all come with different gifts that are more prominent. Some people just have a knowing, or they have literally a word that drops in, or they say, "I don't know how I know this, but it's there." So yeah, that's sort of what I love about these kind of sessions. So yeah, thank you for describing it that way.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And I feel what you're sharing is about a collaboration, of you're
Mm,
working with your higher self and team, and that person's higher self and team are on board as well. And I really love how
absolutely.
you with working with you, you say, it's you who's the driver of your creation. It's you, I'm just the voice, I'm just echoing what's coming through. So you
Yeah.
have a very empowering way to bring what you bring through and how you relate it to people, to know that, yeah, they're in the driver's seat. It's them that's actually here.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do feel very strongly about being super authentic in actually showing people that there's a personality side to me. So there's a part to me that's, just the everyday self. with all the ideas. But also really just showing the process of how do we connect to our observer, our higher self, so that we can bring that in. And the more we can embody that, yeah, the more that becomes part of our everyday life. And at some point we reach yeah, that kind of like, it's not like a destination as such, but you can feel it when your higher self is more and more embodied, and your daily life begins to reflect that process. And I think the best thing that we can do for each other is really being really open about that, because we're showing each other possibilities of how do we go about that, how can we do it. Yeah, so nothing is obviously the way to do it. We all do it in our own way, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we share these processes, but also not just the amazing moments where we're flying and we're dealing with a really high light, but also the raw honesty of when we do the deep dives. I think that's what I'm really passionate about. And I've always been incredibly clear in sharing both the highs and the lows, because I think it's the lows that are actually the gift. That's where the gold is, or the gemstones are, because we need to connect on that level. We need to embrace that and surrender into that for us to be able to bring that up to a higher vibration, to bring it from a polarized duality story into unity, into oneness. So yeah, that's kind
Wow.
of part of what I'm passionate about. Yeah.
Yeah, and is that reflective of your own journey? Do you feel like yeah, because what
Yeah.
you've come here to experience, then you've had that experience yourself through
Mhm.
that journey, and then you can see how much of a gift you have to help others with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the journey started in earnest, or in all, you know, strength. I just always say the door went wide open when we first came to New Zealand. That was about 23 years ago. Coming from the Netherlands, I was very set in certain ways and structures, but at some point had a massive wake-up call out of the blue, knowing that I had to come here, which was super scary. And yeah, that's when certain doors in me just opened. So I started seeing spirit, hearing things, thinking, oh my gosh, am I losing my mind? What's happening? Um, but yeah, so that whole process started obviously with old stuff, old soul stuff, and pain and wounds, coming out, my heart breaking open. And initially there was quite a bit of drama, I think, looking back. And I can see that reflected in some of the journeys that I now do with clients, is that when it first starts, and we all talk about this awakening, it can be quite, I mean, it's rough, right? It's like, I don't know if you had the same experience, but that happens usually through difficulty, that we have these moments of, wow, there must be, something more. Did you have that experience as well? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had some changes in myself that were happening, like family became more important to me and friends, also I was sick of the world that I was mostly around, which was, partying, alcohol, drugs. And I was starting to remove myself from that more and more, but not really knowing how to do that. And then I moved town to totally get away from all my mates and that whole environment. And then straight away I met someone who's doing the same thing. So,
Yeah.
but I was a bit stronger at that point, so I didn't really engage so much. And then I had a boss who was vegetarian and did Tai Chi, and something kind of woke me up a little bit in that area. And And then while I was working there, one of my best friends passed away. I was just about,
Mm.
I was looking at moving back to my hometown, which I never saw myself doing because,
Yeah.
family and friends were showing themselves. And this was a friend who was, more genuine and not so much in that full on party mode, even though we
Yeah.
still were in a drinking culture and what have you. Um, Really beautiful brother, like amazing brother. And I was going to go and live with him and his family over Christmas and just get a feel into being down there and things like that. And but just connecting with him and his family and that. And 2 weeks before Christmas, he died.
Gosh.
And yeah, it was a real shock. Like the type of person he was, he had 2 to 2,500 people come to his funeral.
Oh, wow.
He was
Wow.
a singer-songwriter. Yeah, he did a lot of things. He was beautiful, brother. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so when I went back to my existing world at one point, it just became too much, and I broke down and bawled my eyes out. Got angry. My boss gave me a hard time about something, and I reacted really heavily, actually.
Ah, okay. Yes.
And
Yeah.
then I bawled for about 2 hours or something, and then I walked home and I just said, okay, so what's this all about, and what am I going to do about it? And then my whole life changed from that point. So it's classic
Yeah.
what you say, that darker
Yeah.
place. And then the journey, yeah, you get something all shifts and like very
Mm.
quickly it happened for me, and it was all beautiful. But then you start to have to face yourself, and then you go onto this journey of another thing and another thing. And, well, after about 6 months, my first year, I was guided really strongly to a beautiful place. And it was probably the most precious time of my life. And
Beautiful.
during that period, I probably cried more that year than my whole life put together because I released so much stuff.
Yeah. 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 I hear you. They even wonder if you still have tears left, if it's going to dry up at some stage.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. How precious in a way, right? These are yeah, those amazing times, and you look back on it and you think, yes, that's when it all changed. That's when more of my truth and my actual essence started to come through that personality that I had built prior to that. And it's
Yeah,
so,
and everything you
so crazy.
identify as yourself as and everything, and it's,
Yeah.
very quickly you see everything you believed is the total
Mm.
opposite. That's there's not
Yeah.
really a barrier in there, I find. I think for all of us, a barometer as such, um, it just totally flips.
Yeah.
And then for me, like it's reflecting back to when I was younger, and I was like, wow, I was always questioning life. I was always like, why do we do this? I don't get it. So I always knew.
Of course.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel really blessed that at some point I came to a place where I was able to ask those questions and make that shift,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to stay in those comfort places which even aren't that comfortable, but we
Yeah.
find some comfort in them because we know who we are and everything
Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
brings.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I think that's a really important point, what you just said. Because some people ask me, why does it have to be so hard? Why can't we do this through staying in the bliss, or in the harmony? But I think we really can't, because we're just experiencing what we haven't unified yet. You can't live peace in an area that you aren't peace, if that makes sense. Yeah. So when we get squeezed like that, sometimes it needs to be quite a squeeze, hey, for us to actually want to make that change. It sometimes has to be so uncomfortable that we finally get like, oh, this can't stay like this anymore. And I've experienced quite a few of those moments in my life in different ways, relationships, but also with my health, that, you're ignoring certain things until it becomes a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And then your body or your outer environment says to you, hey, sorry, but we've reached our limit.
yeah, yeah, and I also find
Yeah.
with that it's spirit guiding us. We can call it many things, but I just often to relate to those kind of things as spirit.
Yeah.
And I find because on this earthly plane we have all these good and bad, right and wrongs, and all that. But all in the other dimensions, that's not so, not in such a way.
Yeah,
So if we're ignoring
yeah,
something and it keeps presenting itself and saying you need to shift, you need to change, and you keep ignoring it or doing the same thing, at
yeah,
some point, spirit's going to come in and go whack,
yes,
and
yes, yeah,
kick you up the backside, or
yeah, yeah,
literally you're going to experience it a lot more difficult than what
yeah,
it could have been if we had have said yes to it straight away. But
yeah, yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes that's hard to recognize. The more subtle, the more subtle signs can be a little bit harder to recognize. And I think it's important to understand that when we're talking spirit comes and pushes us or whatever, it's actually us, our higher light, from our light pool, from our higher self, giving us a little nudge, saying, okay, we want you in that direction because you are the lens for us to do this or that. Um, I mean, even prior to us going on this call, I was thinking about what is it actually that I do? And I realize it's so hard to put words to these things because we are just like a facet of a much larger diamond, if you like. And we have so many ways that we can express that, and it's not set in stone. It's not, which is funny that I just used the word diamond, but it changes. We express ourselves in different ways throughout our life, and we grow in as we grow into more of our light. We get better understanding and things shift. So it's quite hard to describe. I always find that so. I don't know if you have that too, but when people say, "What do you do?" Don't you find that difficult to
Yes.
actually put words to that?
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
mean, and not only just that, I find when we're working with someone or you're in a discussion and someone asks a question or whatever, I can really feel the energy, I really feel, and then to put some words to it, I just
yeah,
can't really honor that energy, and
yeah,
with the words, it's just like, and
yeah,
because
yeah,
we're so infinite, there's so many possibilities as well. And even with words, there's
mm,
so many ways of perceiving the same word as well.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
can get a little bit distorted or a little bit lost in the
yeah,
translation, I find.
yeah,
So yeah, I
yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah. Yeah, on the one hand, it's super powerful and it's potent to talk about something, but sometimes our languages don't quite have the right descriptive words, or we need a few of them to kind of like say, okay, this is how I'm expressing myself at the moment. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just go off and go into, I've just seen you a hologram.
yeah, yeah.
And when we are in that space, that'll be so much easier, because there's a wealth of information in there, and not only can you send it, but someone can receive it and go, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I find especially at the moment, it feels like we're in this transition space. And I've been talking a little bit about it with friends, like just after the Lionsgate. Um, we can all feel that it's like there's some new things happening. We are transforming some of the things that of how we used to do it. Um, so yeah, the current energy to me really reflects what I was just saying, that I can't find the right words really to describe it other than to say maybe we're sort of in the quantum soup or in this like state of transformation. It all feels quite new. Do you have that experience as well? Or
Yeah, I find, yeah, how do I answer that? I find things more for me, so um I felt a lot of strong energies. I often feel energies before they arrive as well,
mm, yeah,
like the I can feel the Lionsgate energy, yeah, sometime earlier as well, and then sometimes when I'm in it, I don't necessarily feel it as strong as I did then. Other times I'll feel
Mm.
it even more so, and then within each day and through the energetics, it's more enhanced, and I guess that's reflective of where I am at myself,
Yeah, yeah,
what's going on in my life, where's my attention, am I in my heart, am I in my head, da da da, and
yeah.
all that. I also find with the beautiful energies of the landscape, I'm not totally clear on when they peak. I've just
Mm.
find again it's me asking that question, like if I think of
Yeah,
life and we have a Gregorian calendar, which is
yeah.
totally man-made and very removed from
Mm.
nature and the natural rhythms of life,
Good point.
and we have a peak of a landscape which is cosmic, aligning with a Gregorian calendar on the 888.
Yeah,
I go a little bit like, not
yeah.
really sure that I feel that's possible. Like,
Ah,
it
that's good.
sounds magical and it
Yeah,
feels really beautiful.
yeah,
And the more of us who put energy into it can enhance that field
yeah,
because,
exactly.
we're really,
Mm.
yeah, that's our reality. We're putting a lot of energy into it, and
Yeah,
there's many that do.
yeah,
But I also wonder if that's true in full alignment, and
yeah,
I'm not clear on what is in full alignment, but it's just another
yeah,
place where I kind of ask that question and have an openness with
yeah.
it.
It can be both too, right? Sometimes it's a beautiful paradox of like maybe the Earth has tilted its axis in such a way that we're not fully aligned to the Sirius gateway uh, on that in that time period. Maybe we are. Um, but like you said, so maybe it doesn't matter because if we're all entertaining that, that's what happens. So
Yeah.
maybe what are portals anyway? When we talk about these portals, the 2-2 and the 5-5 and the 8-8 and the 11-11, very strong, powerful moments where our consciousness comes together as one with a certain focus. So I think if it holds up at the highest, I don't know if that even matters because we're just, yeah, it's like we collectively saying, let's have a party, let's gather together on the 8th of the 8th,
Yes.
and focus on self-empowerment and on the lions. And I must say, like I've had in that, especially in that week around the Lions Gate, I've had a lot of lion beings just coming in my inner vision, and I don't have, maybe I do have the intention, but I don't sit for it per se, if you know what I mean. They just sometimes come out of the blue, and for me, those are really beautiful. Actually, the best, right? When you have something coming to you unexpectedly, or um, yeah, you're not asking for it or calling it in, but it's just there.
Hmm.
And I,
Yeah.
I love these powerful visits. Same with the dragons. The dragons want to work with us, or other beautiful beings that they show you parts of yourself, I think. And it can be quite um sometimes it's quite confrontational. It's like, wow, that's a big energy. I'm staring at that right now. Is it a part of me? What is it, what's the communication here? What's happening? Um, but yeah, since 2012, I'm just going on a little bit of a different track here. I hope you don't mind, but um, around 2012, I started shifting and working um, with, let's say, the darker aspects of my soul lineage in terms of like walking in the dark forest and actually really dealing with that kind of energy. So these days, I'm better equipped with when I get confronted with beings coming to, uh, yeah, out of the blue, coming to me or communicating. But back then, it was sometimes quite scary to all of a sudden have a visitor. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I feel
yeah,
that that's quite challenging for a lot of people, eh? That's part of the shutting down process as well. It's not just coming from, everyday life and having to live standard
Mhm.
life and getting schooled and taught
Yeah,
and teach by our parents and schooling and everything, and
yeah,
that it's also, yeah, those visions are horrific and traumatic, and those
it
beings
can
are not
be.
always of good intent and things like that, and
Yeah,
even like you say, I feel,
yeah,
there's that, is it, what's her name? Marianne Williamson, who says we're not scared of a dark, it's the light that we're scared of. And
yeah,
like you're sharing this powerful
yeah,
being right in front of me, and
yeah.
is that showing me? Can I actually be that? Am I actually that
Yes.
powerful? And I
Hmm.
guess
Yeah,
what I find with that is that, we've had such many lifetimes where standing in our light means so many things, and it's often
definitely.
not been a great experience for at different times and different lifetimes. And also,
Yeah.
I feel there's the journeys of misusing our powers and that as well. So, if we
Hmm.
haven't worked on those places, then those can also come up as well when we're presented something like that.
Exactly.
Um,
That's exactly it. But when you first start seeing it, you don't quite realize that you're staring in a mirror. And that takes a little while, and initially that transition from living with the outside coming in and then transitioning into realizing that everything happens from within. And it's the other way around, that takes a little while before you start to understand that, and not just understand it here, but feel it.
Feel it, yeah,
And then
beautiful.
yeah, and then you can start to transmute stuff. You can run it through your body while you're engaging with it, understanding that it's just your own shadow. And then you can start to truly love and accept it. And that's when it transforms. But yeah, that
Bit of a
takes a little
journey, isn't it?
while, right? It's a bit of a journey. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
sharing there, because, yeah, I totally with you there. It is from inside out. Everything is our choice, our creation, us expressing ourselves. We're just
Yeah.
getting mirrored directly all the time in life, just to say, hey,
Oh gosh. Yeah.
yeah, what's there for
No.
you to see and work on and move through and acknowledge and let
Yeah.
go, and yeah, and all
Oh my
that. And
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, it's such a beautiful, I feel, it can be confronting, but it's actually super empowering, because
Yeah.
then you can totally take full responsibility and ownership of everything, and start to see a different relation to everything that's happened. You can take the victim
Yeah.
right out of that, because nothing's happening to us, it's all happening for us when we see it from that place. And we
Yeah.
can kind of go, why would I choose that? Or that's not so nice. I mustn't be such a nice person. But that's all the human stuff of relating to it.
Yeah.
We're talking about a soul who's evolving, who's come here to experience and bring in our light into these realms. And it's
Yeah.
that whole polar opposites, and light shines on the dark, and the dark, gets enhanced, and all this. But that's like you say, it's just us
Yeah.
looking. We just need to look in ourselves and see what's in our field. What have we got in our field, and where are we creating from in this moment that's been presented to us, so we can get to know ourselves even deeper, and
Yeah.
clear out that what doesn't align and what's no longer of purpose, so we
Yeah.
can fully embrace our light, and stand in that power of love and express from that place.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly it. Yeah. It's yeah, it's such a gift when you come to that realization that you have created everything. Um and then we start to really journey into it. We start to, peel the layers and say, okay, what have I created? Like that, what's right in front of me? And then we work with our family karma, we work with our immediate soul karma. And then when we're finished with that journey, and you think, oh wow, I've done it, it's, oh, that feels good. But then it's like, okay, but what's next? And then we realize that that script falls away. Like it's no longer the sort of like the path. You create the path, and not just that you are the path. And then it becomes interesting, right? And realize that the light that is expressed through our being, that's the creator aspect in us, and that we've been playing on this polarized field, this in this paradigm that we call 3D or whatever you want to call it. But that story is slowly being unified. It's no longer really playing out fully on this planet, and there's different dimensional paradigms now. So it's exciting. We're living a paradigm shift. That's actually
Yeah.
really, really amazing, yeah, when you think about it.
It is, and it's absolutely incredible. And the beauty in that is, there again is the choice, and it's like, what kind of playground do you want to play in?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I
You
love
know,
that.
do you still want to be, in that place where people are kicking sand in your face, or,
Yeah,
um, which
yeah,
is literally you? So,
yeah.
so yeah, what would you like to create? From what is the most purest, beautiful, fun,
Yeah,
childlike, expressive, curious way of being in life, and how do I bring that into my reality and that be my everyday, and that's there for all of us, all
yeah.
of
I
that.
love that analogy with the playground. I'm straight away thinking holographic dimensional play equipment and stuff. Getting off the slide and off the swing, and um yeah. And I think that's happening really quickly for all of us now in terms of where we have unified our old stuff and fully anchored in new earth. We feel that, right? It's quite a tangible shift.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can literally, it's a bit of a strange example, but you can walk through a supermarket, um, walking in fifth dimensional energy, doing your thing, where other people, and you can see it. It's just very odd, um, yeah, paradigm shift within a similar within one building, actually. Um,
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, we can only go as fast as our souls can keep up. Obviously, we are still still here. We are still here. That means we must still be doing stuff. We must still be learning, healing, unifying, and it's not a race either. We just do it
No.
in our own way and at our own pace. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all perfectly where we're meant to be, and no one's higher or lower. We're just where we are on our journey, and it's all perfect for ourselves and each one.
Mm. Yeah.
And I love how you share that with the supermarket, and because you really do, and I feel if you're not able to experience that, it's a little bit hard to grasp what we're actually sharing there with
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
different, yeah, timelines we're on, but standing
Yeah.
beside each other, and
Yeah.
and someone's having a totally different conversation with someone else that what you would with the being that's on your timeline, or the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
But also I like how you talk about New Earth, how you brought that into the field, because
Yeah.
that's what we're feeling is it's about new.
Mm.
It's like, okay, you have all these things that you thought you were, and all that journey of what was and what I experienced in past life and all that.
Yeah.
However, there's an invitation here to start new. We can just, because we are creators, and we can step into that new earth energy and just be from
Yeah.
this moment, okay, I'm going to put my focus in truly what feels light and beautiful and abundant and
Yeah.
loving and caring and harmony and sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, things will present itself, but it's a very different way of being. It's just saying yes to yourself, really, and
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
in a place of, yeah, all of that I just shared, and then it's that classic, the more beauty you see in the world, the more the beauty will present itself to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you're then growing. And I mean, in a way, how I understand it. And obviously, this is us talking through our current embodiment, through our understanding. But like, we are literally, when we are in the creating in the new world paradigm, whether you call that 5D or whatever you want to call it, um, we are creating in a unified field, and there's nothing else allowed in that paradigm. Yeah. So everything there, what we are experiencing, is heartfelt. It is coming from your heart. It is unified. It is loving, and it's all encompassing. And yeah, it's such, I can feel it. And I'm still sometimes going like that a bit and shifting sometimes in the old groove of, an old karmic pattern. But what I am actually experiencing, and I am just so grateful for that, is that it's so much easier to quickly realign. I've got much more of an awareness of when I do fall into an old pattern, or um and then I'm like, actually no, this is not what I want to be doing anymore. And I can say that in a really loving way to myself, hold myself in compassion, and say, okay, what do I want? Oh yes, okay, I remember. And then I feel the shift, and it's such a tangible, like you can be sitting like that and then you drop, and it's like, oh yes, oh yeah, okay, I'm back in yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'm explaining it
Beautiful. Yeah, I
really well, but
totally,
yeah.
totally. And I feel what you're expressing is it's that journey as well. It's saying yes to yourself, and that
Mm,
living from the heart, and expressing and moving from that place. And the more we do that, we empty out more and more stuff that doesn't align, and then we
yeah,
also gather up more tools and more ways of not less, it can be from this
yeah,
realm and what we've studied and learnt and read and all that, but it also is our whole unique toolkit that's with us all the time, and they start to awaken more and become more activated in ourselves or more accessible. So and the energies as well are more supportive of that. So it is like it can happen so easily or quickly as we say more yeses to
yeah,
ourselves,
yeah.
and the journey does become easier and lighter for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's important to share, that it does start to get easier, the more you start to, yeah, heal yourself from within. And um, one of the things that I find crucial is that surrender. And it's, I know it's a concept, it's a word. How do you do that? That's a question that some of my clients ask me, and that's something that I've asked myself many times, and it's sometimes difficult. Sometimes we come up to a bit within us that has been there for so long, and a part of us, our personality self, is holding on tightly. It's saying, oh no, it's like, and how do I, sometimes we need to sit with that for a while. Sometimes I'm literally journeying with it like for a week or for a longer time, knowing it's there. And then more and more I can, move towards it. And yeah, I always like to show people with something tangible. So I've got one of my crystals here, but it's literally like if I push against it, it's going to push back with the same force, and you can't shift anything like that. So no matter how much you want to, or not like something, the more you say, I don't like it, like go away, and you get upset with it, the more it stays. But then sometimes, and it can take a little while, but then sometimes it's more like, okay, and you're moving to it with this loving acceptance, and that's when it goes, okay, now you've got it, now you're loving that bit. And it's, I don't know if you experience that too, but that's usually when the tears come, and they're usually not like drama tears. I don't really know how to explain it, but like this, oh, like, this release.
Release and
Yeah.
relief, I
And
think.
it's so beautiful, when that happens. And
Mm.
I'm always, always still to this day amazed with how simple it is, but sometimes also amazed with how long it took me to get there. Do you have that too? It's like if I
Yeah,
was a cartoon figure, I would have that little light bulb above my head going bling, and I'm like, oh, and that's, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I can't explain
yeah,
it.
and that's our being, isn't it?
Yeah,
We are simple. The complicated part is the human aspect, and
yeah,
sure, you have to honor it while it's there, and as we go on, yeah, it gets less, and that simplistic way, it
Mm.
it's so profound, like just what you shared. It's so beautiful, and I resonate. It's that whole whatever you resist,
Yeah.
and insist, it is that fight. If you want in a fight, you're just
Yeah.
banging heads, and a fight will just meet a fight. But if you love it and embrace it, you actually say, I
Mm.
love you, and you bring it closer, you bring it and
Yeah.
nurture it. It just transforms, so it's really beautiful what you shared. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love
But
them the surrender part as well. I think it is
yeah.
a big thing, even though, yeah, we
Yeah.
have these
Massive. Yeah.
things around. Okay, it's a name and different people relate to it differently, but I feel
Oops. Yeah.
um, it's hugely important. So, what is
Yeah.
surrender for
Yeah.
you?
Is that a question? What it
Yeah,
is for me?
yeah. How would you express that?
Mm, I mean, the main word is self-love, I think. Um, but like I said, it's a process. It's something that you can discuss, and sometimes it's a concept that you understand already. But it's also something that you have to experience so that it's embodied. So it's really hard again to describe, but it is an aspect of self-love. Well, that's the shortest answer I can give you. It's literally fully accepting um, something about yourself that previously you denied, that you didn't want to see, that you didn't want to deal with, in whatever way that is, in whatever way it's expressed or experienced. Um, it can be as simple as being ill and it feeling horrendous and completely accepting in that moment, saying, okay, it's okay. I'm going to allow this. I'm going to stop fighting the virus or the thing or the cancer or and the minute you stop fighting and you go, okay, you're here, so I have created you on some level. I don't know why, because it feels horrible, but I'm going to go with it. And then you can, yeah, grab it lovingly, hold it's let's a hug to whatever it is, really. And then when you do that, for me, maybe for people, other people, it comes differently, but for me, that's when I start getting the visions. I start getting the insight. It's like I go up in the elevator and I'm hugging it while I go up in the elevator because I'm finally loving it. And I go up and I'm like, oh, that's where you came from. And then I see other lifetimes, storylines, how they tied in. And it's like a web that I've woven on some level of being, expressing myself through different lenses. And the cool thing then is at that point I can grasp it, not just from that one moment in time, but everything else that's linked through other soul expressions, other soul extensions. Because at that point, you realize that you have maybe done this story many times. And that's why it was so hard to embrace it again, because you knew the minute it started showing up in your life, because the planets were aligned in a certain way or whatever, you were like, oh no, not this again. No, 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 no. And so, yeah, that's why it's sometimes so hard. It can come as a really difficult thing to love. But if we can accept it and hold it, and then journey with it, then we can rise with it. And at that point, when you rise in frequency with it, when you bring it back into love, that is that point where it stops being a polarized miscreation and it becomes unified again. And then it goes, and you can let it go. It goes back to source. It releases from your field, from your heart, from your being. And that's freedom. So you could call it a hug, you could call it freedom, you could call it self-love, but yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. That's a really beautiful way to express it. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. I feel, um, yeah, a lot of people will be able to really receive that and the essence that you've shared, because it is a beautiful way of, I think it's, also very tangible, and I think that's also important. the whole spiritual realm can be a little bit, how does it work, or what is this, or, I need to grasp something. But
Yeah,
again, life, I just see so many things in life that just express a very profound learning or lesson when we see it from that place.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I love how you shared that, because I feel that it is tangible. It is something that you can relate to, and
yeah.
help someone bring it into their world as well.
Mm. Which is that's important. Hey, we need to make things yeah, how shall I say this? It's important that we describe it so that people can have context. And again, it can show up differently for different people. For me, this is the personal process, so I don't know how other people do it. I literally do not know. But if we don't share these things, these stories with each other, then um, yeah, then we're not really truly helping each other. So it's a good thing to share. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
because, like, yeah, what you share there is, if it's someone can work that way or does work that way, then they can relate to it. But also, I feel because you've shared it the way you've shared it, which resonates with you, so that's heartfelt. It's just what you relate to, and this is what you're translating,
Yeah.
and that can ignite that within someone else, even though they express
Yeah.
it or experience it totally different,
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's
and
exactly
also
what
what
I
we are sharing here, it's, everything goes out into the field, so there's this ripple effect. So even
yeah.
if we just say, like myself, sitting here and go, okay, I'm going to create a podcast, I'm going to
Yeah.
allow myself to be seen and on this
Yeah.
platform in this way,
Yeah.
and that goes into the field, and that invites someone else to be seen, and that could be in a totally different way,
Yeah.
but the energy of it goes out, and it can touch someone, and maybe they will never watch any of these podcasts, but it could still touch them.
Exactly. And that's so magical, and it's amazing. I'm so happy you're doing this, and it's brave because like you said, many times, many lifetimes, we have had the flame in our hearts. We have journeyed as truth keepers, holding the essence of who we truly are. And but also in those lifetimes we might have been yeah, prosecuted or had horrendous things happening to us. So I still notice prior even prior to this session, or when I have to do speaking with not so much one-on-one sessions, but like if it's more in public, bigger groups, I notice nervousness. So there's old patterns of us still that we're lovingly bringing into oneness. So, but it's important that we are going, showing up for ourselves, for our light lineages, um, and making ourselves seen, really. And I just really want to say that this because it's important, really in an authentic way, um, because we can only ever do ourselves. So you don't need to copy or imitate anyone. You can just be yourself, be funny, or but be authentic, because we are needed right now. We are each carrying a piece of a very important, big transformational puzzle, and we can only do ourselves, and that's perfect. That's what we are here for. And yeah, I'm just, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it's really important that we honor that in ourselves at the moment, that we don't put anyone above ourselves anymore, that we honor that we are here now doing us, and that's enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
That we
totally.
don't, yeah, because for a long time we might have followed someone and thought highly of them and listen, but it's our inner voice. It's now up to us, each of us, doing our own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. To bring
Yeah.
through our, you could call it codex, our
Yeah.
blueprint
Yes.
and full embodiment, and express from that place, because, yeah, like exactly what you say is we've all got something uniquely to
Mm.
bring to
Yeah.
the bigger puzzle, the tapestry, that however you want to call it, relate to it.
Yeah.
And it is, yeah, it's exactly what you say. It's so important that
Yeah.
we recognize that in ourselves, and we're okay to say, yeah, I am this
Yeah.
amazing. I am a very loving being, credible, gifted, and allow that to come into fruition and forward. And
Yeah.
I also find, there can be journeys where we think, well, I'm not going to express this or do this thing because lots of other people have done it. So no one's going to be
Yeah.
interested. But that's not what it is, because you've got your own frequency, you've got your
Yeah.
own expression.
Yeah.
We're all bringing something unique. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's not it's not important if someone's already written that story and you feel to write it, but you're not going to
Yeah.
because 20 other
Yeah.
people have done it, or
Yeah.
10,000 people have doing
Yeah.
this. It's
Yeah.
all you. It's all you, like you
Absolutely.
say.
Yeah. And it's so cool because there's no competition that way.
No.
You can say, oh, I need to protect what I've created because it could be stolen from me or someone can copy it. Well, sorry, but it's not true because it's coming through your lens, so it has your unique flavor, your resonance, your essence to it. And that's how we are creating the new earth paradigm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't anchor your light in there, well, then it's not anchored. That's also okay. But you sort of owe it to yourself. We owe it to ourselves because we have been going through so much up to this point, and now it's time to kind of stand in the light, yeah,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
shine a beautiful inner light and love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's beautiful how you say that we owe it to ourselves. And that is, I mean, the greatest thing you can be for anyone is to give that to yourself.
Yeah,
And that's where it starts, because the more you do that for yourself, the more you can give to others, and help them to give that to themselves as well. And also the planet, she gives us so much, and we need to acknowledge her way differently than what,
yeah,
the
yeah,
other way of being has been. And that's what this is about as well, because we're
yeah,
co-creating.
yes,
We are exactly that. We are nature, and as we
yeah,
rise, she rises. As she rises, we rise, and we all live in
yeah,
harmony. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
part
Yeah,
of the journey.
absolutely. Yeah, we all are connected, coexisting on here. And this might sound strange, but I sometimes think she could do this without us. Regardless, she's transforming, she's deciding that she's, changing in her frequency, in her light cloak, in her beingness. But because we are so intrinsically interwoven with her, the stories, we are just tidying up after ourselves. That's what I sometimes think. It's tidy up time. It's like when our mums and dads said, "Come on, kids, you've played long enough. Now we're tidying up. And tomorrow's another day." So, yeah.
Beautiful. I love
Mm.
that. It's really cool. Wow, this has been wonderful. Is there anything else you'd just like to share the audience before we finish this beautiful call?
Um, there's not really anything standing out to me other than what we just said. I think it's so important that everyone's just being themselves, and sometimes it can be really scary to step forwards. Um, but I think, yeah, even if you're going red in the face, you're stumbling, you might have tears in your eyes or your legs are shaking. If you have something to say, if there's something in your heart, don't hold back because now is the time. Now is the time. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And you'll even hear in my voice, I stutter sometimes, I lose my voice, and I recognize that, yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
It's just
It's
me.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just being here. I
Yeah.
can feel a little bit uncomfortable at times or whatever,
Yeah.
and all that. However, I'm choosing this. So yeah, just
Yeah.
let's just do our best to choose
Awesome.
what we're choosing, and allow the rest. And those things are also helping me shift through them as well, because I'm
Yeah.
finding, of course, the more I do, certain times I'm really comfortable, and other
Cool.
times I could be a little bit edgy, but it's getting it
Yeah.
feels like today I've got 3 calls and I'm just like,
Awesome.
okay, I set my
Cool.
field, I get ready, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
actually in a good space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're with
and
friends. You're just chatting. That's
yes,
what it
that's
is.
that.
Yeah. You're with your soul family, and everyone coming to you is going to have a resonance with you. So why is that? Because on the soul level, they love you already. So it's,
Yeah,
yeah, let's just have a good time, I think, for all of us. And yeah, of course, nervousness. Sometimes we all have that. I have that too.
yeah.
But I think we're growing through these kind of interactions. So I really
Yes,
appreciate
totally.
it.
And like things like those, nervousness and excitement, they're very similar. So it's quite
Mm.
easy to kind of bounce in between the two of them, you know. And
Yeah,
again, I find that's about just bringing yourself back into center, just being actually more centered, more in your body,
yeah,
really present, and
yeah.
just kind of softening a bit as well, you know, because that
Mm.
excitable energy, it gets it high and you can go,
Yeah.
and the same with your nervous energy, you know,
Yeah,
it can
yeah,
kind of take over a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
it's all
Yeah,
good. Just
yeah.
showing up like you're saying, and just
Just
okay,
show up. Just
just
show up.
show
And
up.
it's okay to stumble. It's okay to make mistakes. I remember all the mistakes I ever made that were the best afterwards, not when I made them. But afterwards, I was like, oh, that's when I learned so much, you know?
Hmm.
It's all good. Yeah. I
Beautiful.
love our chats, Jacob. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
That was really
you're
cool.
welcome, and thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really grateful, and yeah, wish you well. And thank you, everyone who's listening. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, really grateful, and sending you all so much love and gratitude, and journey well, you know.
Thank you.